Okay.
All righty.
Did you want to turn it around so we can see where that camera is going to be?
Yeah, so let's see.
I
mean, I could kind of hold it, but like to get the panel.
Or leave it in the center so the audience, or maybe
Actually,
put it on a chair. Yeah.
yeah, this would work, I think. Somebody would just have to monitor it. There. Yeah.
You know what? There you go.
Oh.
That'd be great. And then you
Good
can
one.
just twist it.
If you don't mind.
Not at all.
There. Okay,
Good.
got it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'll have to tell my district AA group that my hybrid workshop skills came in handy.
Thank you.
So Alfred, you think, would you mind? I'm information to the. You could, I'm starting.
So this is the camera. So it's going to be, and this is the panel up here, but like when I'm talking, maybe you could hold it there
Okay,
and record it
sure.
and monitor people coming into the waiting room because I have it so everybody's muted.
Okay.
Nobody's in the waiting room. Let's see, it just feels.
I could have catch every 4 people.
Well, it may not. I mean, but it's through my hotspot on my phone, so I think it should be okay.
Okay,
Um,
we'll be getting started at around 6:30.
yes.
I'm gonna see if I can get us a wagon so I can put it on.
Okay, that'd be great.
No.
No, I think you lost. Okay, I can tell you. I'm just gonna call it. And you got. Right. I'm doing great. You should have sure. I everybody you should follow. I think the president is. She's sure. Keep one off. You want to well, I know you better. Right. That's your boy leader. Everybody. Really. We get screwed to the lives.
Testing. 1, 2.
Yeah. Wherever. Oh, I don't see the rest of it. Yeah. Maybe she was pointing out. Just let us see. And let's pronounce that and out whatever comes through. It's my honor. Yes.
How do you get it here? Good. People all figure out. No, it's not there.
No, it's not.
There's no there.
What is that? What do you mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Asian made quite a change here. And they've settled right down, they're together, and go, we're getting it from really well in America. And they.
Let me ask you this.
Scared of it bad. Yeah, he's a lot of serious. It was wrong. Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't see it.
Next one, yeah, and then we'll need to somebody else, I actually would go out and. So. It was like a shooter. So they have to work with this. Yeah. Right.
I think I talked to you. I had to get some of this. But it's just we're doing so well right now. You gotta. Yeah. Well, the other thing too is. I saw that it's. James already knows. Yeah, we used to do better. Here's the thing. Yes. Back in also here. It's just about letting them come into their. Make them their eyes when they realize things that have happened to them, you know, so. No, it's good, recovery. Well. Also, I am. Yes, we're Laura.
But it's a lot of. It's good for me. Really. And you wait a little. Then down. Wow. Right. Wait. So you did. Well.
You know,
That's where we also relax. And how you really do it? Then all this about.
maybe I want to and.
It's all like.
Yeah.
Oh, put it on your tab, it's the same.
So.
The summer beaches really struggled before. And then I did online January, February, March, there. And we decided we're like, let's just have that. All the mask mandates are gone. These things better. It's not bad. So. I am very busy with later. Sharing with Oh, thank you. How's it going? How does it look?
Good.
Great. Right, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been like a lot. Yes. You know, they both were meeting. Meetings. Because he had a meeting. What's enough? What's one? I didn't see it on. It means, yeah. Hoping that somebody who was in the plan and, you know. Even if that's my story, it was just. Don't break her, to the chat, from how long. Because of my. I have losers. Yes, I This is like, I'm trying to help. That. It's not.
Oh, so we have somebody in the waiting room.
Want to be listening?
Yes, please see who it is. And they're muted and they can't unmute themselves.
Okay.
Thank you for your.
Oh, you know.
So I can do it once the panel is speaking.
Right.
It's Mary. All right. Oh, Kelly and Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, sorry, that's so loud. I'm Laura Mack. I'm the president of this chapter, the Northwest Wayne chapter of Families Against Narcotics. I've been the president since January, so I'm still new in the role. I took over from Lauren, who had very big shoes to fill, and I'm doing my best, but I still miss her. And she's here tonight, so yes, thank you, Lauren, for all of your leadership. So this is our first forum back in person since I became president. We've been meeting virtually, and we were hoping for a good turnout today. But I think it's going to take a while for everybody to get comfortable coming out. I do appreciate those of you who have come out to attend today. We have a fabulous group of people here. The mission of our organization is just there's no other organization like it that I've come across. The people are so dedicated, and you're among friends here. So thank you so much for coming out. So our mission, I'm just going to go over a few things real quick before we get started. Our mission is to provide education, resources, and support to families and individuals affected by addiction, the disease of addiction. To that end, we hold events. We hold monthly forums, the first Monday of every month. When I joined back in 2017, when the chapter started, we were meeting, obviously in person. With the pandemic, we've been meeting virtually since most of the time since 2020. So we're still finding our way. This is a hybrid. We're attempting to do a hybrid meeting. So thank you to those of you who are Zooming in. I'm just hoping that as the year goes on, everybody will get more comfortable with coming out and we can resume, we can get back to our normal. Because it's just the fellowship that we share at these forums is just amazing. The informal talk among people that participate, the questions that they ask of our speakers, all of it is just really valuable information for everybody. So I just want to also mention our support groups. Our chapter started what's now called the Stronger Together Families and Friends support group. It's now throughout FAN. FAN has adopted our format, and there are other chapters there are other groups through different chapters that are doing the same thing that we're doing in our group. But they meet virtually the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And I think they've added a daytime meeting and an evening meeting and a grandparent meeting. I mean, I think they've expanded quite a bit what they're doing with the family and friends support group. So if you're interested, I think we may have some flyers back on the table. But if you're interested in any of this, go to our website, familiesagainstnarcotics.org, and you'll see all the things that we have to offer. And I would strongly suggest that if you have anybody that you know who's struggling with this, tell them about the Stronger Together group, because they work wonders in that group, and it's extremely helpful to families who are struggling. We used to have a grief support group, but we decided to discontinue that. Instead, we have partnered with a group in Northville, an organization in Northville called New Hope Center for Grief Support. So they are specialists in doing this. This is all they do. And they actually have started a group for substance use disorder. So people that have lost someone due to substance use disorder, they have a special group that meets the second Wednesday of every month. And I did print out some flyers. They're on the table if you're interested in passing that information on. They also do it by Zoom, so they have it in person and also virtually. And you can go to their website. It's New Hope Center for Grief Support, and it's on the flyer that's back on the table. Okay, so those are our groups that we wanted to tell you about. I do want to thank our sponsors. We have a sponsor for our beverages and also our snacks. And Brian, I think you were the representative from Skywood.
Yep.
And Skywood was the organization that donated our snacks, and Sweetwater's in Canton, on Canton Center Road, donated the coffee. So thank you very much to our sponsors. And we have some upcoming events. The biggest one is our Ground for Recovery. We're doing a golf outing, our second one. The one last year was a success, and so we're doing it again. And that's going to be September 16th, Friday, September 16th, at Fellows Creek, which is like 2 miles from my house. So it's wonderful for me. It's a great location. So we're getting sponsors. So any of you, if you know anybody who golfs, we need golfers, we need sponsors. We want to make this really successful golf outing. So please get the word out. There should be some flyers on the table that you can take with you. And we'll be sending them to you via email also if you're on our email list. Hope Not Handcuffs is another initiative of FAN, and we were successful in really getting the Wayne location up and running, Wayne and Garden City. So that's within the purview of our chapter, the Northwest Wayne area. We didn't have any Hope Not Handcuffs locations until last year. So during the pandemic, the Garden City Police Department and Wayne, City of Wayne Police Department allowed us to launch Hope Not Handcuffs at their location. And the Wayne location has just been phenomenal. We have had, I think, 10 people come through in the last year compared to 1 in Garden City. And one of our goals this year is to try to enhance that and try to get more police departments in Western Wayne County to use Hope Not Handcuffs, because it really is a direct way to help people who are really struggling, who have nowhere else to go. And it's wonderful for the police because they can be doing something positive. The police get tired of just arresting people over and over again. You know, it's just, it's not a model that works. So anybody that's interested in working and helping us in Hope Not Handcuffs, we always need angels. Angels are people that go out to the police department and help the person get into treatment. So, and we give them care packages, we give them water, socks, little blankets, all kinds of personal care items that follow them. They can take it into the rehab facility with them. So it's really an amazing initiative by FAN. So please, if you're interested in helping us out, we would love to have more volunteers. And if you go to the website, you'll see trainings. There are virtual trainings for angels, and there are locations, and they will publish them on the Families Against Narcotics website. Okay. So a little bit about our forum tonight. We are very happy to have, this is a forum on relapse, avoiding and recovering from relapse. So I reached out to my good friend, Tim Tout, who was our peer support person at the 29th District Court Mental Health Treatment Court. He ran a relapse prevention program because even though it was a mental health court, 80% of the people that were in our program suffered from substance use disorder. And so, but the interesting thing is, you know, Tim is just so phenomenal, so wonderful at what he did that people that even didn't have a substance use disorder, people that didn't have a problem with addiction were coming to his group. So it was hugely successful and we miss him terribly. So we're glad to have him come out of retirement, so to speak, to lead this forum tonight. And with him are, I wrote down the names. So with him are Stephen Mings. Thank you, Stephen. Peggy Buckley. Thank you, Peggy. And Laura Protek. And I will let them introduce themselves and say, yeah, why did you come on up to the table? I'll just run through the rest of what I have really quickly. That is tonight's forum. So it's going to be a very informal kind of question and answer format. So if you have questions, please keep track of them. And you know, you'll have opportunities to ask your questions as it goes on. Our next forum is going to be entitled Treatment is Just the Beginning. And we have flyers in the back. And it's really an interesting topic. Family members are often surprised to learn that detox and treatment are just the beginning of the recovery process. It is important to view recovery as a long-term process and set realistic expectations. It takes time to restore trust and heal relationships. Join us with our panel of family members and their loved ones share how they met the challenges of the first 5 years of recovery. So that will be a really interesting forum. Okay, so I think that's it. Did I forget anything? I think we're good. The other event that I wanted to mention is Overdose Awareness Day. We always have an event August 31st, which is Overdose Awareness Day. We usually have it here in Canton, somewhere right in this area, one of the parks. So we'll have more information on that on our website as it gets closer, but if you're marking your calendar, you might want to mark your calendar for that one. Okay, well, anybody have any questions before we get started? Okay, without further ado then, I'm going to turn it over to Tim and his panel of people in recovery and dealing with people in recovery to talk about relapse.
Thank
you.
No, thank you. Is this on? Is it on?
No.
Introduce yourself, Laura. Did yours work?
Hi, my name is Laura Trojan. Glad to be here. I've been to this meeting a few times, and I think it's a great help for a lot of people, and I'm glad to be a part of it tonight. I have talked to Tim, yes, we're boyfriend girlfriend, so I talked to Tim last night at dinner, and I thought, okay, well, this is about relapse, right? And he said, relapse, and he goes, yeah. So I thought to myself, oh, I don't think I did either, you know, and then well, there's got to be something here. And I surely did. I do belong here. So I did realize that I did have a few times of a relapse, and I did have a slip. So, and I think it was one of those questions that did say and ask the information as well as a question. And I believe that for me, the relapse was when I was going for a longer stretch, you know, and wasn't ready to let go and seek recovery or seek help. A slip was after I finally made it, and there was a little bit of, and got back on track and, you know, went back into recovery without having to maybe go to a treatment center. Because I had been to 3 different rehabs, and so on my third one, we had the slip and got right back on track. I don't know that for me, I think the rehabs were 2 of them anyway, were good, and you know, a little bit of education I did get in the after I left there. I think that's the pivotal point as to, I think, what was missing for me, as I was terrified. I was curled up in a little ball. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And they just said, go get me your NA. Fine, without someone to kind of be there for you. I'm now a peer recovery coach, so I think it's still a missing thing, to be honest with you. I think it's vital for maybe someone of support to be able to do that. And so I think that's a kind of something maybe that community can work on that might be good to service people coming out of rehabs and connecting them to the community of recovery. It's a beautiful process. I didn't think I was going to make it. I didn't know if I was going to make it. And so I am definitely blessed to be alive, because I didn't really want to live. And it was opiate use, and if anyone's ever had experience with using opiates and being stuck on them, it's a very scary thing. I wanted me back. I just didn't know how to get me back. And you know, I ended up on my third rehab, going to AA, threw myself 100% in that program. Did 90 meetings in 90 days as a commitment. And I think that's probably the major thing that saved my life, was making that commitment. Because we're easy runners, we just like anything that doesn't go our way, we just get up and say, you know, F you, and yeah, we're out of here. So I thank God made that commitment and said, no matter what way you feel, you're gonna do it. And so I just had to fight with this clean you, you know, that, you know, I was saying, okay, you know, you're just gonna go no matter what it is. And I'm glad I did. I found, you know, AA became my family. The family didn't understand how to help me. They loved me. They were supportive, and they said, I don't know how to help you, you know, go get some help. And I really didn't know how I was gonna get help either. I just had to, you know, make that commitment, show up, do what I needed to do, and basically do what they were doing. And that's where I got the success. Got a sponsor, worked through the 12 steps of recovery. In that 12 steps of recovery, I ended up learning about me, you know, why I do the things I do, so that I could correct them, you know, and without support, I couldn't have done it, you know, so. I didn't
Okay,
have-
I'm sorry to interrupt, but why don't we just move on and have everybody just say a little bit, and then we can ask specific questions and have the panel weigh in. How is that?
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Hi, my name is Stephen Mings, recovering alcoholic. I definitely qualify here. I'm sure I was Tim's first choice as if the subject matter is relapse. I probably have over 50 relapses in my life between 2012 and 2020. And so I am here to give you hope that there is a way out, no matter how bad things can get. I do want to express my thanks for you being here tonight, and that I hope my words can give you some comfort. This pandemic, this opioid epidemic has taken many friends away from me, and I can't even imagine losing a family member. So I hope my words are able to bring you some comfort tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Peggy. I'm an alcoholic. I have been in recovery since 1999. I went to my first AA meeting, and I just now have 6 years sober. And I relapse slipped. I don't even know if those two aren't the same word. For me, I didn't know. When I went to my first AA meeting, I was a single mother. I had no financial support, any kind of family support, any support from anyone. I was alone with my 2 youngest children, and I had an older son who lived with their dad. And all I knew was I was terrified. I couldn't get out of bed anymore to get my children to school. And so when I went to my very first AA meeting, I had no idea what support I was going to need and how hard it was going to be to get sober. But I knew for sure that it's where I belonged. It was the first time in my whole life I ever felt welcome, loved, cared about, and cared for. In that first meeting, I had never felt like that in my whole life. Strangers, all strangers. And I just didn't know what I was up against, but it was too late. The seed was planted. And I'm not one to give up. And so I spent about the first 15 years struggling to stay sober with absolutely no support, family support. So Tim knows how my struggle has gone and how passionate I am about families being involved in someone's recovery, because we're all part of this. It isn't just about the alcoholic or addict. But I the first time I ever relapsed, let's see, I went to my first meeting. I think I stayed sober 8 days. I ended up in treatment 2 months later. And this was their best attempt at helping me not relapse, okay? This is how ignorant people are. I went to treatment, first time, I didn't know anyone who was like me. Never in my life I didn't know how to even be with my children, with my family. I felt like just a complete outcast. I was terrified going back from alcohol treatment to my hometown to have to be a part of society and people know where I had been. And they promised me that they had gotten all the liquor out of the house and this and that. And don't worry, we got you covered. You know, that was how they were going to keep me from relapsing. I had no clue that wasn't going to work. I didn't know. I said, oh, cool, great. I thought they were being supportive. I was cleaning the house a few days later and found a half a bottle of Smirnoff underneath my bed, and down it went. That was my first relapse, and my oldest sister disowned me at that time. Right then and there, that was over. She didn't want anything to do with me. She had no idea about alcoholism, what it does to people, drug addiction, and that was it's still this way today with my family. They know nothing about it. They don't know my struggle. They don't know what my kids and I have gone through. And I continued to relapse and go through horrifying situations with my kids. And it wasn't until I met my current husband in AA that the relapses stopped. We got married. And I finally had that support in my home. So, you know, you can't live with one person, can't be in recovery in a home, you know, and especially the one person being the person that has to pay all the bills, do all the cleaning, take care of everybody's responsibilities, you know, it was hard. And so I don't even know. I mean, I got to the point I relapsed so much, I was ashamed. And so the shame and the fear and the self-loathing, I couldn't even say at meetings anymore that I had relapsed again and again and again because I was afraid I was hurting the newcomers by saying, yeah, I've been coming to AA for 10 years and I just relapsed again. It's like I was stuck in this world of not understanding why I couldn't stay sober while other people were getting sober. But I was doing the work to the best of my ability and working with sponsors and getting sponsees and it just kept getting worse and worse. And you know, so slips and relapses to me are one and the same. I mean, I remember times when alcohol just literally jumped out of the bottle into my throat. I had no choice. You want to call it a slip or a relapse? I call it Satan in a bottle, and he wants me dead. So, you know, I was so excited when Tim called me about all this. I had a recent incident happen, and I am completely and utterly on board and want to help. And I hope I'm going to be able to be some service here because I need it too.
If I can interrupt just between all of this and give kind of an oversight of why I chose the people. When Judge Mack reached out to me and told me what the topic was going to be, I thought of some people that had some good insight, and I kind of put the word out there. I was hoping that every one of the seats here tonight was going to be filled with people that had living experience of relapses, but we'll see what happens as time goes on. Peggy is not only in recovery, and I've been part of her journey to get any kind of recovery in her life, and watching her just blossom into one of the most beautiful. She was a beautiful woman prior to, but she's also a mother of, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but she's a mother of adult addicts also, that she's struggled with all of her sons. She actually has a son, hopefully still in recovery, correct? She had 3 sons that struggle with addiction too, on top of being the mother that's supposed to set the standards. So her story to me touches my heart every time I get together with her and hear that she's struggling again with one son, one other thing, trying to carry the message to others. That I thought her story would be perfect because she had not only a lived experience, but then she is one of the family members also that struggles with trying to carry this message to somebody, her own sons, over and over again. They've tried, she's tried to get them into recovery. I remember celebrating one of her sons, I think just in a year or something like that, when we went, and watching the joy that he had to show his mom, you know, here. I did it, I've done what you could. So I thought her message and her story was perfect for this format of being able to show a little bit of everything. This young man actually came to the first Western Wayne family meeting with me and was newly in recovery. And I was so excited about like sharing what I had found thanks to Judge Matt and coming to this format that I wanted to bring somebody that would get as excited as I was. And he shined. He the minute he hit this, and I remember the first couple of forums, he's great. I got something to say. I've stayed in touch with him and watched his struggles, even since those first meetings. He's had to find other lows in his addiction or his, but if you see it in him, when he's in recovery, he shines. He is one of the most incredible, wonderful people. And so when you brought it up, I was like, right away, I thought, oh, I'm gonna see what Steve's doing. Now find out. And then the wonderful lady on the end, even though I get to share my life with her, she's an inspiration also, because not only is she a peer recovery coach and works out of the OCJ, Oakland County Jail, and does medical assisted treatment, which is funny because it wasn't our belief, because we're kind of old school in recovery. And so when all this methadone and Suboxone and stuff came along, we were like, oh, no. But both of us have worked in the field where we actually had to go help people. And I saw what it does to help people in recovery. And it's a different kind of, a way of getting into recovery. But in my mind, it's still recovery. It's still keeping them from, having to relapse every time we turn around. It's helping us on that edge of where we're going to fall off or not. So she had this wonderful experience of not only working in the prisons, jails, she works for Sacred Heart. She's also a certified health coach, which I kind of looked at and I went, oh God, now we know that she believes in recovery as being mind, body, spirit, the whole thing, which I think is it's intuitive to recovery. Because I believe if we're not healthy in all those different areas, to tell you the truth, any kind of sobriety only has a small window, and then one of the other things takes back over again, like we either, our mind does. Our physical health can take us down drastically. So, we're talking about relapse here. I'm trying to throw out some of the main things that I've seen. I've watched people that have an injury that might have been an alcoholic, all of a sudden gets opioid in their system, and look out. We've just created one of the biggest monsters you've ever seen in your whole life. The alcohol, and I love it too, because you'll have an alcoholic say, oh, I'm still sober, I'm just hooked on these oxycontins. Excuse me. I'm sorry, where did that come into play here? Are we allowed to juggle what should and what's bad and stuff? So I really believe in this around belief system. And I just wanted to point out too, if anybody here has questions, we have people on Zoom that have questions for us. These are the kind of people that I thought could really bring it. Plus, we're missing, there was another Sarah from GrowthWorks who was supposed to be with us and supposedly has COVID at this point in time, so that's why she's no longer with us. And I thank you for staying home, Sarah, if you're online. We miss you. We miss you, but we had one more other person that works in the field as a peer coach also, which I got another awesome peer coach in the audience. God bless you, sweetheart, that showed up for me. That it's incredible that I started working with people when they were in treatment and watched them struggle and struggle and struggle. And the one thing that I want to give to family members, to anybody, never give up. Don't ever give up. The problem is that I think Peggy said it best too, is having your own family member turn their back on you and give up on you. It is nothing more than that case of like, I'm going to turn my back on this, I'm giving up. If you don't believe in me, I'm not. I'm done. I'm out. Sometimes it's really hard, and sometimes that love has to be given from a distance because they'll steal everything in your house. If you let me, in your house, so those same boundaries also are, Kayla is one of my poster children. Of what can happen, what can be, what was it, a year, sweetie? That you, when you started working at Oakdale?
Yeah, it was, I had like a year and 3 months, I think. Before I started working in the field, and then I had a relapse actually working in the field, to be honest with you. And was able to catch it. And I had enough recovery in me at that point to be able to catch that, and it was a day, and I was able to come back, which is not the normal story for people who relapse. A lot of people stay out there for years, months,
How
and
come?
and that was me. Like, that was me.
How did you catch it?
It was, I had enough people in my corner. I had enough people from a 12-step program. I go to Narcotics Anonymous that knew if they didn't hear from me that something was wrong. And it knew if, like, they didn't see me, something was wrong. So I just had enough, I had enough recovery, you know what I mean? I went to an intensive outpatient program. I lived in transitional living for 18 months. And that's what it was. It was enough recovery in me and my ability to be honest. Because at first the disease tells me I don't want to say anything. And then that creates the shame and the guilt, and the shame and the guilt continue to make me use time in and time out. So my ability to be honest with my sponsor and be like, this is what happened. And I had to be honest with my employer a month after it happened, and I had to look at them and tell them that's what happened. And working in this field and knowing that you have people that depend on you day in and day out, helps. It really gives me the motivation to just keep going, no matter what's going on in my life, no matter how bad I think I have it. When I look at another person who's just coming in, whether it's for the first time or off of a relapse, like, it just reminds me of what this disease can do. So it's like, I just never lose sight of what my disease can get me to. And it just creates, I mean, it sounds bad, but it creates some gratitude, because I don't have to live like that anymore. And it's not easy, and it's not always sunshine and roses. It's life, and it's life on life's terms, and it's not on my terms. I don't get to pick and choose how things go and what's gonna happen. So I'm just grateful. I mean, and that's a lot of it, is staying grateful for what I have.
Thank you for being here too.
You're welcome.
I appreciate both of you guys. Seriously. The handsome gentleman next to her is her significant other, and also just an incredible inspiration in recovery. So, thank you guys for coming and supporting, because if any of the family members, anybody that's watching us on Zoom or anything, can understand that this is the only way that I've seen recovery in all the years that I worked in it, and all the work years I've been in it personally myself, is the support that we get from each other. And I think that's why FAN is so huge, is that it supports, it finally gives the family someplace to go. You know what I mean? That's something that I think that was missing. I mean, we had, different smaller programs that, I don't know if they worked or not. I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden with
Al-Anon.
thank you. Which, I've always heard both things. I actually went to an Al-Anon meeting and I thought it was fine. I thought it was great, but I've heard opposite things where, that they get really angry about the person that's in recovery. And, but I've also heard some wonderful things. So I think that we have all kinds of different, because recovery, it doesn't come in a box. People, addicts don't come in a box. I used to get these treatment programs, and I was supposed to put this person in a box and tell them, this is how you're going to recover. And guess what? Especially in the court, when we're dealing with people with severe mental illness too, on top of a substance abuse. Where do you start? How do you start? The first thing is by treating the person as an individual, a human being, showing them that they're loved, they're treated, and they're safe. And then starting with the problem, and the problems go so far back. So, I want to thank everybody that came. Thank you guys so much for being here. Well, heads up. I don't know if you guys have any questions. In the audience, go ahead.
Go ahead, Janine.
What age were your kids when you started trying to stay sober?
My youngest was 3, my next one was 5, and our oldest was 9 or, no, he's 10.
Have any of your kids gone to Alateen at all?
Would not go. And I went to my first meeting and I told my children what was going on. My middle son's very smart. He said, Mom, can you die from this? And I said, absolutely, I can, but I'm gonna do everything not to. And at that point, I didn't know that there was no father in the house. There was no other sober person, adult in the house. It was me. I needed someone to step in and fill that void for them at least. No matter what anybody thought of me, my children needed that support. So I was all that they had, and it just grew as they grew up. Mom going to meetings, mom going to meetings, mom's sick again, mom quit her job, we had to move, we have to go, mom's going to meetings, now she's in rehab, she's working, she's doing good, she's got 1 year sober, 2 years sober, but she relapsed again, the pressure would just continually, and I pull it back together and it would all come down, pull it back together and it would all come down. And I couldn't get anybody else to even care one lick about what was happening to me and my children. I have 2 sisters and a brother and a mom, and my sisters told my mother that she wasn't to have anything to do with us because she was enabling me. And people at her Al-Anon meetings told her that if she did anything for me, I did everything by myself, alone, raise these children, stay sober, pay the bill. They told her you can't do anything for her because it's enabling. And that's how my mom treated me. She did the very minimum for me. And I mean, I just felt so hopeless. I was just hopeless. I have this ability to not quit. Your instinct to survive kicks in and you survive. And when you're a mother, you take care of your children the best you can. And I love my kids.
Ask a selfish question. How's your relationship with your mom since you've been in recovery?
My mom has gotten knocked off her little Catholic heart a little bit since she and I have come together through this process. She and I, over the years, we will read the big book together. She lives 2 hours from me, so we've never been super close, but we're as close as thick as thieves now. We could not have a healthier mother-daughter relationship because of the alcoholism. Because of the alcoholism. I have a depth and a weight and a stability in the relationship with my mother that is so healthy and fearless. We're both just fearless about it, but nobody else in the family got to get any of this. She learned mostly through me because she knew that what those women at Al-Anon were telling her just wasn't, what do you do when you have a daughter who has to take care of 2 little children? How do I not help my daughter and my grandchildren? That's what they told her. And she believed it, and I struggled and relapsed, and she'd have to come to my rescue, and my kids were scared, and there's no one to help, and my sisters just thought I was a piece of shit. They didn't ever pick up the phone. They haven't still to this day picked up the phone to have a conversation about what we went through. I made my amends to each of them officially with Andrea and called each of my sisters. And I made my amends. Not that I had amends to make because I didn't want to do anything to them though, but I never stole, they never saw me drunk, I wasn't around them, I didn't live near them. But I wanted my sister back, so I made amends the best I could. Not once have they ever picked up the phone and called me back just to say, hey, so when I say no support, I mean like abandonment. You're useless to me, I don't need you. That kind of thing. So it's deeper when your blood that turns on you like that. It's different, and I don't like to whine and cry, I just get up every day and go, but it's like, it's a deep pain still that I don't have that closest with my siblings, and that my children and their cousins, and my children have been labeled the alcoholics children, just like I was labeled, we were labeled my dad's, we were just the alcoholics kids, we're just nothing, So There's a lot of stigma and a lot of shame and hiding that goes on, and people just don't want to deal with it. But they were very little, and so they've grown up watching their mom get up and fall down and
Just so you know, that's not what we teach people at my house.
Thank goodness, thank goodness.
We teach people that, because we all have to learn the difference between enabling and helping,
Mhm.
you know, and we teach people that, you know, first of all, you let them know you love them. Because anybody who's got an addiction issue needs to still know that people love them and that people are going to be there for them. Yeah, we can't supply money for alcohol and drugs and things that, or, you know, do things that mean now you have money to spend on those things. But we, you know, grandkids, you babysit them, you know, you take them to Alateen, you know, you can, so, you know, but yeah, that's not what we teach people. You know, we tell them enabling is when you do stuff for them that they can and should do for themselves. Yeah.
right. I couldn't, yeah,
It's a great message.
and that's what we need to start.
Yeah.
Gotta change that whole enabling word. People use it as a crutch to not help, to not reach out. Oh, that's enabling. I don't wanna be accused of enabling. Well, you know, if you're.
They have to go to enough meetings to know what the difference is.
Yeah, yeah. They have to get the right information, and so I'm, you know, and I don't like when we're blaming either. I don't blame my siblings, or I don't blame anybody for my drinking. You know, and I never did. Nobody had to tell me to go to AA, I went. And, but it's the, that abandonment, feeling like you just don't matter, that is really hard to overcome when you're trying to give up alcohol. You know, this is, for me,
And it's much easier to recover
say,
when you have people who go to Al-Anon and other support groups, SPAN and stuff, and they're there to support you.
well, what do they say?
And know how to quit impounding the problem.
You know, and when you share these kinds of things like we're doing now, walls are breaking down inside each and every one of us right now that wouldn't have happened had we not all sat here right now. You know, the healing process is active right now, really active. And that's all I want to see from my family. I want them to recover from our dad's alcoholism. I want my siblings and I to be that family that we should be, because you know, we came from a really rough background and our mother had to raise us alone. And she's an incredible woman, but we are wounded and we can't even have a relationship together because the alcoholism and we're afraid we run from it rather than run at it and attack it and face it head on. You know, we want to, it makes the alcoholic and addict want to hide because we don't understand. And it makes people want to hide and run away from us because of the actions kind of inhibit, you know.
I have a question for all of you. Did you have any warning signs before you relapsed? Was there anything, thought process or triggering event? Have you been able to identify triggering events? Steve?
I didn't warning signs, but when you're already in that relapse stage, when you're already not doing things that you need to do to stay sober, you're not going to catch those signs. That's why I find it very important for me to keep a lot of people around me so they can tell me about that. But yeah, looking back, we every time I go to the lighthouse, they make me do a relapse prevention program. We timeline it out, and sure enough, there it all was. To me, it's all the same. Life is life. Life is great. I'm not drinking. I never, no. But today I keep so many people in my life that if I were to go missing for 6 hours, people are knocking at my door saying, "What's going on? You haven't heard from me in 6 hours." And that's what I need. That's the thing that I need just to remain sober is the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And you know, just to clarify, I know we've got 3 alcoholics up here, but alcohol, narcotics, it's all the same. These are just a symptom of our disease. They blot out the reality that we want blotted out. So, you know, don't think that just because we're alcoholics, we don't know what we're talking about.
Because alcohol is a drug, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Push.
One of the Zoom members, The question is, my son is 21 and has had some success with recovery, but it seems like every time his life seems to be going great, he sabotages himself and relapses. I'm wondering if you have any advice on how he can get past this pattern that he seems to be in.
So, well, here, I'm just gonna jump in real quick and then I'm gonna turn it over to these guys. All my question is, and it goes right back to what Steve was just saying also is, if you're connected with those support groups, if you're connected with the people that, if you're getting too up there, I mean, if this is famous, we're famous for this. Really, when it's really good or when it's really bad. We're never in the middle, never when we're just kind of plateauing, because that's where we're trying to get, and we don't know how to, but if we're up here or we're down here, those are the signs right away. So how do we keep, and these guys, I think Kayla said it first, and Pete just said it too, is we need to have accountability. Okay, so the accountability comes from, and I don't care if it's Alcoholics Anonymous, NA. I would challenge Fan to make people accountable. If I don't see your face at next month's meeting, I'm calling you. I'm gonna ask you where you were, what you're doing. It's everything that we possibly can to keep people accountable. I don't know if I'm incorrect.
People have different, you have to approach people differently too. I know for some, my oldest son got into recovery because he was cocaine and booze, and he finally said, Mom, I want to go to a meeting. He came to me that day, went to 3 meetings. Next thing you know, he's living with his sponsor, doing the 12 steps, and he did wonderful. I caught one of the members really like getting in his face really hard one day, and I didn't like it. It was too harsh. But then I approached my son afterwards and he said, Mom, I need that. I need them to do that. He needed those strong men calling him out on his shit. It hurt me to see it happen, but I don't respond well that way. You know, if somebody does that to me, I'm too sensitive, you know? So we all have, you have to approach everybody a little bit different, but, you know, the point is that if you are approaching someone because you're concerned about them and they're using or whatever it is, don't not do it. Just do something because it shows you care. And we got to keep facing this thing. We cannot back down. We can't let our loved ones or the people we know disappear because we don't think we know what to say or how to say it or when to say it or what to do. Start a conversation, get some information, learn what this disease really is. Just don't do nothing. You know, we can't lay back anymore and let it keep killing them. Not just our lives, it's killing the way we are in life with each other. We aren't in life with each other. We don't communicate correctly. We don't finish conversations. We run away from each other out of fear, out of frustration. You know, this thing is eating at the very core of the human existence on the entire planet, just like COVID. You know, so just we got to get people to want to step up and do things and see that you can't run away. Even if you're not the one that's addicted or it's not in your family, it's affecting you, it's affecting us all. We got to stop, you know, letting it make us afraid. It's got to be common conversation at work, not just at meetings. It's got to be on our everyday principles of life. You know, I talk behind my chair at work. I'm a hairstylist. I've since started talking every day to people about recovery. Well, I was supposed to.
Yeah.
But you need to be accountable to your peers more than your family, right? Because it seems like if we interact with our alcoholic or addict and say, have you been to a meeting, they don't like that. It seems like it's more of a peer thing than a family thing.
It comes better from, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it comes better from each other. The one that has the lived experience. So it is those people from the outside. I was gonna ask these guys, you know, the high point is, and that was a great question from whoever out there, because it is, I mean, what's a tough thing to see your child or your family or whatever succeeding, and the next thing you know, they're self-destructing and they're back out on the streets again, and it's like, whoa, hold on. You were just at the highest point, you've done everything that possibly could. I was gonna ask, have you done that?
I'm sure I have. I didn't have too many high points in my life. the last decade. But what I can say is that, when asking somebody about their recovery program, I think a person who is actively working a good recovery program is not going to get defensive about anyone asking about their recovery program. They're going to be able to answer that. They're going to be able to give you details about it. They're going to be excited about it. If anybody's getting defensive, I got to question that program. And I get it from sponsees all the time. So I'm not afraid to ask them, because this is life and death. That person may not realize it, but it truly is.
One question, on the weekend, our church had as guests, and they came in before the pandemic, and we were excited because it was the first time since the pandemic started, they came back, but it was a business called On the Rise Bakery.
Oh, yeah.
And it just seems so wonderful because, my daughter moved back in with me, and for the last decade, it's either been, her whole experience has either been rehab or jail. And it's like, why aren't there more, or are there places that are workshops in Western Wayne County or someplace that can support employment? Because she's kind of like, I don't know how I can get a job because I can't get expunged, and people are gonna look at me this way, and if I get sick, and it just seems like, that ability for people to do something mindful and purposeful and productive is lacking out here, unless I'm just ignorant to what is available.
It's really hard to find, and let me take my hats off, because I work with, that's the Capuchins that have that bakery, and they have programmed when I was doing paroles, that the guys, they have a house down the street from the bakery, and they put up 10 guys in this beautiful, gorgeous house, pay for all their groceries, everything, and give them this house for a year. They work either on the Rise, or they work at the wholesale bakery, which is right down the street. And all of their pay, like 50% of it, gets put aside for when they graduate the program, and they help them bank it. They're only one of many. They actually have theirs called the Jefferson House. It's another one of their treatment programs that the Capuchin runs. There's Michigan Works, there's Detroit Training Institute that's down behind law and parole office. It's a great place, but they train you for welding, high-low, asbestos. It's all people that are trying to get programs out there, but the red tape to get through, and I'm so sorry to say this, but the red tape for people to get in here.
I just want to comment on that when you're done. I don't want to cut you off.
No, I was just, because I love hearing that they're still out there and that they're still inspiring people, because it was one of the greatest things sitting with the brother that runs it. I got invited into his home a bunch of times. So, because he would interview the parolees before they let him in there. And he's just this incredible, he's from New Jersey, and he's just filled with life. And helping people. Once again, Judge Mack's another person too, that gave opportunities through her court system. So even the courts, and I think there's other judges too to this day, that still try to open opportunities to help parolees, probation, or so on and so forth, get GEDs, get jobs. I hate to say it, but the best place to be able to, if you're an addict and you're looking for work, go to a meeting. You'll network with people. I can't tell you how many people, especially in the Northwest Alamo Club and some of the clubs over there, people will go to their meeting, and before they walk out of the meeting, some guy's like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? I need some help either bringing in houses, busting up sidewalks, paint, it's all different types of, so that's another avenue too. I've been amazed at how this network of people in recovery work together to help each other, even though I think it's one of the traditions that we're not supposed to sell a business or whatever it is. But let me tell you, all the people that I know that aren't trying to make a living out of it, but just trying to help another addict get along, are there, and they're part of it. Go ahead.
I was just going to share. So my name is Allison. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I have a felony charge and 14 misdemeanors And I'm only saying this because I am gainfully employed. And the thing that worked the best for me was just being honest. I mean, I put all of my stuff out there and I say like, hey, I'm a person in recovery. This is what I'm doing to get my life back on track. And I did have to start off kind of small, like I worked at a deli, I worked my way up, I got back into my career, and I got to the point in my recovery where I was able to quit the career that I hated and do something totally different. I'm a graduate student now at Wayne State University, and even to get into that program, I had to tell them about my criminal history, I had to go through like a disposition. And right now I'm getting ready to start in the fall. It'll be a really competitive internship working with an opioid workforce educational program. And I only got that by being completely honest about like, I have a felony record. I have some like pretty significant like drug charges on my record. So just being honest and being able to share that was able to like, I'm really surprised that like I've been able to get hired at places because they really trust that honesty and me being able to say like I'm in recovery and here's my references. But yeah, I think like getting into meetings too and getting that networking, that's really helped me out too. Friends being able to hire me into places and put me in the right direction. So
What did you learn in recovery that got you to where you are?
what did I learn? How to live life.
What I hear is getting past
how to
fear
get
too. Yeah, getting past our own mind.
Yeah.
Getting past fears.
I mean, when I got out of jail, I wanted to go back to my career as a dental hygienist after 3 years of not working and being homeless and on drugs. And my sponsor's like, how about you just get a job, do a minimum wage, nothing like something that you can just focus on recovery. And I took those suggestions and worked my way back into a career that I actually decided I hated. But yeah, I mean, I learned how to get on my own way.
Congratulations.
I think.
Thank you for sharing.
Hi, Kim. My son was Brian Quinn,
Yes,
and he's doing great.
awesome.
But what you were saying about accountability, I know once he got out of Lighthouse and had to give, some work and stuff, he got a job just working with a guy and doing furniture, kind of moving around. And he told him that, that's why he hadn't been working was, he was in this program. He said it was really hard for him, but he felt he needed to do it. I think it's when he gets, that they know what's going on and he knows he's got to keep clean. And through that, they work for another company, did he work for a bigger company, and he's gotten a lot of positive responses from that company. So when he had changed jobs, trying to find something to get, benefits, that guy found out he had left and called him and wanted him to come work for him. And in the year and a half he's been there, he's been moving up and given supervisory full-time benefits. He is, he's with somebody now. And I've listened to when he's outside, but he's really coming right now.
Is he still attached to recovery?
Tells me he's going 3 or 4 times a month. I
Okay.
don't know how much he should be or not. But if I ask him and he'll tell me, or he'll, that, yeah, I'm going, and and I said, how much? He says, I get there 3 or 4 times a month. I go, he's working a lot. He's, with somebody with a family too. But he doesn't shy away from me asking him any questions. And he touches base with me and his dad.
I know he had a good spiritual belief too, correct?
Pardon me?
Good spiritual belief?
Yes, but not church kind of thing.
It doesn't matter.
And a
Mm.
very caring, extremely caring person. And
Well, God sees his heart.
Yeah,
yeah, and he was completely honest with this new employer who said, doesn't bother me as long as you're keep up your work and I don't see anything. And he says, I work with guys that like to drink and swear and smoke, and I don't.
well, at least he can identify with them a little bit, right? He knows so something about that. I think it goes back to the mind, body, and spirit in recovery. And maybe I'm wrong. Any of these guys want to correct me, but I think if we have a connection in all of them at some point or another, too, and I know your son was such a great man too, that I'm so proud of him. But if you can look at them from the outside and you see that they have even a little bit of the connection, that they're taking care of their health, they're making sure that their health is okay. Somehow or another, they're cleaning house up here, their mind is okay, they're talking clearly, they're talking good rational thoughts. You know, I'm not depressed or in the dumps all the time. And then I have some kind of spirituality or some kind of connection where, you know, I'm talking about that, you know, because I think that was the hardest thing Steve and I were talking about on the way here, is that, you know, so many people were pushing us towards church and religion and stuff when we first came into, and it was really tough for me. And I thought, I'm never going to make it. I'm not going to make it because I can't get over these certain humps that people in the program were putting before me, telling me, oh, you got to have a God, you got to have a
Well,
God.
that's why we push the Bible and stuff on a lot, which I think, bothered them more. Well, God will get you. He's got us all already. Oh, yeah. But we're where we are for a reason, and we can't change somebody else's process. All we can do is appreciate where they are and focus on our own recovery. How many times am I going to a meeting? How many times am I connecting with my recovery program, however I set it up for me? He says he talks to some people from
Good,
program.
good.
But again, if you're worried about somebody else's recovery, go back to yourself first, re-examine your own recovery.
So,
Yeah.
or child.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's good or healthy to, you know, and especially if he's open to you asking. I think too, that your comment about.
Yeah, you said, I think, because I just asked him last weekend, which is over,
If he
just
said-
and- No, I understand. He knows that.
I like it. I like that he's still open to talking about it too, because I think that's one of our biggest things that I think Peggy was saying too, is that once somebody comes to you and starts doing this, like how many meetings you're going to, you know, who you talk about. I personally, I just shut down
Yeah.
and go the other way. So it's nice. I think that would be another sign too, that I think we were asked earlier. You know, what's one of the signs that show that somebody might be, you know, going towards a relapse or not being able to, is when they don't want to communicate, when they don't want to talk about, you know, recovery or the good things or whatever, you know, I think is a sure sign.
Well, I think the timing of it has a lot to do with it. There were many times in my life where people would point out where I was slipping. And by then it was too late. I agree with them. I was like, yeah, you're right. And guess what? I don't care. But interesting thing happened to me back in February 2021. My father, probably saved my life. I was just recuperating at home from a broken leg. And I hadn't gone to a meeting. I was going to online meetings. And I hadn't gone to a meeting in 2 days. I just wasn't doing anything. I couldn't sleep. My dad, I got real direct with him. He was like, what's going on? We're not going through this again. Because you're not going to meetings, you know what you need to do and you're not doing it. He goes, well, I'm not going to have that. And I was fresh enough in my recovery that I still wanted to recover. Still wanted it. I couldn't help but say, this guy's right. You know, and he was very direct, he was very firm, and he was right. And darn if I wasn't on a meeting 2 hours later. And I don't know if I've missed one day of not going to a meeting since then. And I credit my father for doing it, to holding me accountable for not working my recovery program. He probably saved my life.
We have two other questions from online. The first one is something that I'm also interested too. I talked to folks, and a person writes that their son is in recovery now for 10 months. This is the one is it the same one? Oh, did you, is that the one you did? Okay. All right. And the young man is in recovery now for 10 months and tells this person that he's not the usual user. And there's quotes around that. That he does not use regularly. He seems to be and another person says he seems to be downplaying his use. And he's not in a 12-step program, nor does he work with a peer coach. So the question that the person has is, have you heard of that happening? And I would just like to say, to add my question to it, is how do you crack that? Because how do you respond to that? I'll repeat it if you want me to.
Well, not only that, but the reason that I look at Laura too is because of your experience in the jail. And then this sounds like a perfect conversation between somebody who's in jail and talking to their parents, or there's somebody that's trying to support them from the outside as they're gonna take this transition from jail back into siding or into a parent's home.
The ones I work with sometimes are not really ready to go into like 12-step programs, anything like that. We do offer pathways to recovery, so there's many pathways to recovery to offer. But it's just getting them engaged, is the missing point. Is like after they leave there, okay, where is the support for that? Do a survey and I make a connection a couple of weeks after, within the first couple of weeks. Sometimes people, I'll get, time to answer their phone, sometimes they won't answer their phone, to make it a connection, but, to get them engaged and want recovery, that's just up to them, what avenue they want to go through.
How many people do you meet in there too that say, oh, it wasn't because of my drug addiction or my alcoholism that got me in jail, even though all the signs are there saying yes, and they're in jail saying, no, it really wasn't, it didn't have anything. This is the downplay part of saying, oh, I don't use like other people, or I didn't, or it wasn't because of my addiction that got me in jail. Oh, yes, it was. There's no doubt. So what do you, I think the question is, how do we direct them, or how do we get them to that point?
It sounds like you've already shown the person the tools that they may have. You show them, even though they're denying the fact of whatever, and then you follow up later. And I think that's been what I've missed, and I'm not sure what's going on here, but so you show them the tools and then follow up later. But the denial is an issue.
A peer coach too, and Laura's got a great position to be working with people.
Yes, but for them to actually take action out there, that was the disconnect. To get them to actually take action, because once they're out, they want to, okay, I got a good job, I gotta make money, to, support my family, or, to survive. So, you need survival stuff first. So they don't think of recovery as the number one thing, which actually, if you don't have recovery, you won't be able to keep that job, you won't be able to stay in a marriage, or, have a relationship with another. So, it's just getting them to realize that first things first, we have to take care of ourselves first. This is like the stewardess in the airplane says, put your mask on first before you can help another, same kind of analogy. If we don't take ourselves seriously and get the help that we need first, there's nothing else, better that can help, after that. And unless it's haphazardly, I had to get well before my kids could get well. And so those were the things that, I had to keep in mind. I'll keep that sobriety first and foremost, and keep at it, working at it. By the 12 steps recovery is what helped me to understand how to do that, how to understand why I do the things I do, so that I can change the things that need to be changed. If I am not aware of them, then I can't take care of them. I'll just keep doing the same things over and over, expecting different results. So if I don't do first things first, I will not, I'll keep stumbling and falling and relapsing.
I have a question if nobody else does. As a judge, I would encounter people, coming through the system again and again. Is it helpful to tell people that have a problem with substance use disorder, that they will struggle with it the rest of their lives, that they have to be vigilant? No, I just, is it
Looking at the beautiful lady right behind you,
Is it
seeing that
do you want to answer that?
Oh, I think it's a struggle. but you don't have anybody around and your family goes, oh, the court system's over now. We know you're gonna mess up. I wish it was it for life that you were in it. I wasn't, I mean, it's a struggle. COVID hit when I got out. So,
What did you think of having a judge look at you?
well, I was grateful that she let me go into the program again. Because I mean, I lost the value for myself. And it was very lonely.
What's it like?
But I'm going into doing more for myself. Like, okay, the first time I went through it, I couldn't wait to have a glass of wine and a bubble bath at the end of pregnancy. All the way through it. These women, you know, my group are like, that's not the right way. I said, don't tell me. Do not tell me that. I did a glass of wine, bubble bath. That's strike one. Good attitude. I also, same as you know, how do you have fun without drugs or alcohol or make yourself numb to the environment with people? I learned how to do that at least. But again, COVID didn't help. COVID didn't help anyone. I mean, there was no grief, you know, there was no peer people, there was no those support groups. I thought, okay, well, at least I have my support group. God says, poof, think so. And now how are you gonna do it? So now I'm just kind of like scared. Don't want to go back there when the sport ends. And I'm going to push myself with the value. Have my daughter around, which she wasn't because my mother passed away. And all these people were going through her house, and I did get my house. And going through the house, so I couldn't have my daughter there. And without her there, because she's like a light that, you know, she's like, no, I can't be a light. I'm a bad person. They said, why are you a bad person? I laugh when people fall. But I'm doing DBT is what I'm trying to get to.
Oh, good.
Dialectical behavioral.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
It's giving me life skills that I'm practicing now. And since I had such a stigma connected to the court system when I went through it the first time, that's really on the down low with me right now, with anybody around me. I just say, this is my sober year. I'm gonna try to go for another one and another one. And they're like, oh, we're so proud. Because I don't want to have that failure in my mind at the end of this. So I'm making better routes. I am trying to be aware and mindful and learn the life skills that I need to handle problems like COVID and get a big bed of support. You know,
So you do believe that this addiction's for life and you know it.
yes, especially if I don't have a mental attitude and awareness, like the whole thing. I go to the gym and I work out. I call Elizabeth. I called, you know, there's coaching with the DBT program. There's homework. Nobody Impact. I'm really not for it since I had so much, and it kind of felt like Impact let me down but I didn't have a skill set from that to move forward. I just had a lot of the same stuff. So I'm really excited about DBT. No offense on that. I am really excited to move past. I also was diagnosed with PTSD. So in order for me to get treatment, because we tried to do this when I was without the court system, and it backfired because it brought too many traumatic issues for me to handle without that skill set. So we're going to go into the PTSD counseling following the DBT. So I've got a plan that continues to go on because DBT doesn't even end until June next year. It's a commitment of a year, but I'm excited. And I know how to have fun. In fact, I enjoy it. So for people, I always say people can't handle me as it is sober. All I need is a little bit of sugar and then everyone thinks I'm crazy anyway. So I think I might just be more enjoyable this way. And if people want to go out and have a good time and drink, just give me a candy. I mean, or some sugar. That's so yeah, I would say it's a struggle, but it's easier if you know your faults in yourself, to be honest with them, because I wasn't honest when I got out of that program. I was looking for a bubble bath and a glass of wine. You know, I wasn't thinking about anything else. I just can't wait to have that glass.
My point was, I was hoping that you heard too, that what a better place to get started, to have somebody in authority, especially that you're in front of because of your addiction problem, whether you know it or not, to point out. This isn't, there's no like quick
But she
here
puts a
for
lot
that.
of value, I'm sorry to interrupt, but she puts a lot of value into that person.
Oh,
To me, didn't feel it.
you're so lucky you got thrown in that court. Because let me tell you, anybody that went through her court, and I praise her for that, and that's why I love working with her so much, is because I saw compassion for the people that were in front of her, even though she had the certain boundaries where she wouldn't let them cross too far, which we have to have with people in addiction. But she had the empathy and stuff, and she was always looking for some kind of a solution or ways to be able to help the people.
I agree.
Yeah.
Props.
Thank you.
Judge, if I could chime in on that, I would tell somebody that they will suffer for the rest of their life, but help is available. A solution is available.
Yeah.
They don't have to live in a struggle. I do not struggle today. You know what was a struggle? Trying to be an alcoholic without a job for 8 years. How do you do that? Trying to find a shelter. You know, that was a struggle. My life was a struggle. Today, I am happy, joyous, and free because of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. When I turned my will and my life over to the care of something greater than me, something magical happened. Something truly did. I got away from being who I was to being who I really thought I could be. And my biggest struggle today was my roommate left a cup in the sink. That's my struggle today. I am so blessed to be involved in the 12 steps, whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. The words are all the same, the principles are all the same. There is a solution, and it works. It really does. That's what I would do.
Thank you.
We got them all over the place.
A very big,
Give me quick.
in the court, her name right now with the other judge. So Teresa, I want you to count your days of sobriety every day. I want to know, how do you do that without not giving yourself too much credit and also being grateful? So I got so many other things on my plate, which I need to be sober for. It's just, to me, like, I don't want, I'm afraid of applauding myself too much because it's like that high level again. So I just like.
You don't want to jinx it. You don't want to jinx it.
Good today, I'm gonna ride with that, I'm gonna feel good
Somebody
today.
else do it.
Yeah, okay, so tell her I can. Sorry,
Well, yeah, but it's something that we normally celebrate.
I mean, I am
Days of
celebrating it,
sobriety.
but, it reminds me that I don't know how to say it. I can't decipher
It
it.
goes back to the question too, of the woman that was asking us, where there's a high point of, we get to that point where we think, I don't know about anybody else, but I thought the first time I got in recovery, everybody talked about this year. Everybody had a year. Like, does that mean we get to go out and have drinks? Horrible to get that year. It was the worst year of my life, I'll tell you, and I'm not gonna, not to spoil it and anybody else. That first year in recovery it is wicked. And so to celebrate the highs and the lows, oh my God, I'd be a roller coaster instead of just taking it. I think as you heard all of us say, today, all we got is today. I know.
That enthusiasm that you have will bleed onto other people. So don't ever
Let it go.
not show how enthusiastic you are and how important it is and how special you are to be able to stay sober today. Because you are going to attain a gift that most people will never know. They'll never know. How many times do people get together and talk with strangers like this? Think about it. This program is the greatest gift to mankind that ever happened. But it's got a shadow on it that makes it seem like it's the opposite. But once we get in here, we get in recovery and we get with our people and we start spreading the word and our power takes over, we have something that normal people, the earth people, will never know. It is the weight of the character that it builds when we really help other people because of our own experience. It's awful. And it's tragic and funny as it is, you know, humor is the best. I mean, we have to get excited because if we don't, we're gonna die. We have to laugh or we cry, you know, and it just tickles me to see how. Well,
If I can get my garden to grow, so to speak, when this ends, is when I'm gonna be the most afraid. Not the happiest, but the most afraid. And unless I get that foundation that I'm building right now with better people in my life, but I don't tell them the court, so it doesn't stigmatize it for when it ends.
Are you in AA or NA?
Yeah, but I'm also in DBT and I'm in the court system. I'm on probation. I'm on everyone.
Okay.
But
So when you go to AA or NA, there's your bathroom.
yeah, but if they're not in the court system, some people use it to troll. There'll be dealers in the parking lot. There'll be people that, you know, I don't want to hear about it. I don't, you're weak.
Turn that off, turn that whole, because that's the old us, the non-trusting, the judgmental.
They are there.
They are there, but you know what though? When you go in with this, with that smile and that beauty and that talk of hope and inspiration, guess where the predators go?
yeah,
They don't want nothing to do with you.
or they're gonna get sober because of you.
Or they'll go, what has she got? I want somebody, because you know what? And maybe I'm wrong, but it was when I was working a program is when I didn't have to worry about those people. Somebody, and I just told it to a woman that's struggling, that was talking about her estranged 19-year-old son, and she was wondering what he thought of her because she doesn't have a relationship with him. And I said, somebody early on in recovery told me what other people think of me is none of my business. And she responded back, oh my God, you just lifted the weight off of me, because here I can worry about what this little kid's thinking about me not being his mom. And I remember it came out of nowhere. So when you're working the tools that we get, the suggestions that we get from these good people, we don't have to worry about who's out in the parking lot. I don't have to worry about who's gonna be, you know, talk or leading me down the wrong path, because it shines, it really shows in us.
Well, to be honest, I don't go to them anymore. I go to them on Zoom.
That easy way to
You
say
know,
it.
but I don't.
So I was gonna say that, like, Judge asked, and I think it's the language some. Like, I think that it's like, if we tell somebody that they're going to suffer with this for the rest of their life. I think that suffering word, just in general, like people who say, and I used to say, I suffer from mental illness.
Yeah.
I deal with mental, I have mental
Love it.
illness, right?
Love it.
So I think sometimes it's like the language,
Mhm.
like, obviously we know that they're going to deal with this for the rest of their life, right? They're going to receive consequences from their addiction for the rest of their life. So I think sometimes it's just like that language. And I guess I've learned that from working in the treatment center, because I know that all of them are gonna deal with this for the rest of their life if they don't get on a recovery pathway of some sort now. But sometimes breaking through that barrier to them, and like if we use, I guess it's certain language sometimes, it makes us feel like, oh my God, this is gonna be like a torturous process. Like, it's almost like it's not like I'm looking forward to, I wanna do, it's almost just like this burden.
Yeah, I have this and this and this.
That's right.
Right, but at the same time, right? I think it's a double-edged sword between dealing with this for the rest of my life or living just for today. Like, I think, because I know, but I don't live that way. I don't live day in and day out going, oh my God, I have to deal. Like, that's just not my thought. So like that just for today in the beginning for me,
Oh,
leave. Yeah. Grip and cry and scream and yell, and it was literally just for today. Tomorrow, I can reevaluate my decision at any point. So it's like we always have options, like addicts, we always have the option.
So I'm trying to think of, because it's a great question, because it does need to, but how, you're so dead on with it to the language. What would be the right thing to hear from somebody that was sitting behind the bench when you're down, you're hit hard?
You're gonna receive consequences because of your addiction if this continues. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. Because consequence motivates people sometimes. Pain motivates people,
Right.
right? And that's so for me, I'm like in your frame of mind, but for me, a judge didn't work. I mean, that's just how it is. Like a judge didn't work. They tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. And like they had to just put me in jail for a year because there was no, because for me, there was no external consequence. There wasn't a great enough consequence on the outside of me, whether it was the judge, whether it was my son being born, whether it was losing the family, whether it was that. And I think that goes back to what Laura was saying and what the question was that was asked. Until the addict or alcoholic truly wants to stop using, they will not stop using. It doesn't matter what Tim did for me. It didn't matter what anybody did. Nobody. And then like being in the court system, I did 6 months in jail, got out, and 2 weeks later, caught the same charge in the same city and went back for 6 months.
Yes.
Like that
That
was
helped you. That helped you.
right, and that didn't, and that just wasn't. For some people, it is. A lot of people come into the court system and they stay clean, and that's that. So everybody has a different bottom, and everybody's pain tolerance is different. And I think that that's why it's so important to remember that this is so individualized sometimes, that it's not just a one-way path. I wanted to say really quick, and I'll shut up.
Right, no, okay.
I've been good. I've been real good. I had a mother who sat and cried and yelled, and I had a mother who I didn't have, growing up. I was reintegrated into my mother's household in 2013 when I thought that it was a good idea to go back to Brightmoor, live in Brightmoor in my house. And I was gonna stay clean. That was my plan. And Tim decided to tell me that wasn't gonna work. And I moved back in with my mom. And me and my mom had a lot of challenges. This is the woman that I pinned down in her bed and took her wedding ring off of her finger while she was sleeping to get one.
Mhm.
And today, no matter how crazy she might make me sometimes, she's my biggest support. But I didn't get that full-on support that I thought that I deserved, because I thought that I deserved some stuff when I got clean. I didn't get that full-on support until I had over a year and a half, 2 years clean, till I really saw that my mom really believed in my process. So for me, man, it was just, my kid couldn't keep me clean. I watched my kids sitting there so sick this weekend, and I was so fucking grateful to be able to be a mother, because my kid, if there was any consequence that God was gonna put in my path to try to get me to stop using, that should have been it. And it just didn't matter because I had no support system. I came off of methadone in a methadone clinic, had my son, he was born addicted to methadone, watched that kid sit in the hospital for 30 days, coming off of a drug that he didn't choose to take. And that pain and that guilt and that shame with no program, because I went to meetings and they told me that I didn't belong at a meeting because I was on methadone, which is fine. It is what it is, right? I used that as an excuse. That wasn't what was really going on at meetings. That was my excuse to say, oh, I'm out. See what they did, I'm out. And that wasn't and that led me to relapse after relapse. I've been in 18 residential treatment centers because of it. And it was just my excuse to push away everything that was good. Because I was the one that didn't feel like I deserved success. I would relapse at the highs because I didn't feel worthy of what was in front of me. So it's just, I mean, that's just like the biggest thing I've heard tonight. An addict will not stop using them till their pain is great enough. If my mother's pain could keep me clean, I would have been clean a long time. So I mean, that's just. Yeah.
We have another question from the Zoom audience. What's the best way to approach someone newly to recovery?
And could I qualify? Could I qualify that a little bit too? That it about family members talking to their loved ones with substance use disorder. What's the best approach to deal with that? The question is for everybody.
Or be supportive and talk, be supportive. Loving
And to be honest.
and, to get, what you need to get. So that you can get well. I'm here on your side, always say you're on their side. But we don't know what to do, my parents didn't know what to do with me, so. My son struggled with mental illness, had a good bout with it and. Eventually said, how can I support you? I'm terrified, because my first husband committed suicide. So my son was going through the same thing he was going through. So I was like, okay, son. He went to the therapist and then was getting to the mental medications. Because my first husband was bipolar, and now my son's going through his stuff and going to therapy, and then he got to the psych stuff and wanted to go on mental medications as well. So I'm like, oh no, I was terrified. So I felt very powerless because I knew from what I learned from the program that there's not a whole lot I can do. And I was terrified inside. I did ask if I could have a release of information for the therapist to talk to me so I can talk to her about my concerns. And so I was able, he allowed me to do that. He turned 18. So he allowed me to do that because he did know what happened to his dad. So I got to express to the therapist exactly how I felt and what the experiences were with my first husband's daddy. And she said, Laura, she said, I am going to tell you that I'm going to be watching out for him when he comes to therapy. I can watch on this end. And then because you're in recovery, you can see, and support him from that end and let me know if there's anything going on that way. And so, mental illness and substance abuse a lot of times go together too. Thankfully, he's not in substance abuse, but it could very well go that way. But ask, I think is the best way is to ask, how can I support you? I am, and be honest with them, like Phil was saying, be honest with them. I'm kind of scared for you, and can I be of support? And can we kind of negotiate, is once a week okay? Because you need some kind of feedback as well, to see if you can help or just know that they're doing okay. And see if they're willing, willingness, if they're willing and open to accept that kind of support. I think that has definitely worked out for me and my son. He's passed the medications and he's doing well. He has a job, he got his GED, so he's doing really good. And so that support, you just is definitely what he needed, I think, to show that I tell him I love him and anything I can do to help and support. And that's all we can really do. Pray for them. Pray for them. It's not easy to go through.
I can make one statement with that too. It was really interesting is again, if you haven't heard from all these different people, the story I love is Dad, when this one's not going and Dad's like, we're not going through this again. Your son having a guy get in his face at a 12-step meeting, having mom look at it and think, oh my God, that's horrible. And the son's reaction was, Mom, I need that. If you can hear the different, we can answer these questions the way that, how we've seen people deal with it or whatever. But if you understand that in addict, we're all different. We're so different. To be able to tell this person that's asking this question, listen, be there, be caring, you know what? It might be the son that's laying there that's not going to a meeting that needs dad to get down in his face and say, hey, listen, we're not going. So please, if anything that's being heard tonight is to understand that these are individuals, these are people. If anything, I would think a family member would know the other individual or their child maybe enough to know, do I need to get in his face? Do I need to like say, hey, listen, you need to go to so many meetings a week to be able to, is that the support they need? Or do they need us just to say, hey, what is it that I can do to help you? You know, that empathetic, the caring, the compassionate. Just because I was worried when you sent us the questions too. And I don't know about anybody else, but I was worried that they were a generalized, like if somebody's looking for a generalized answer, how to help an addict to keep from going back out and using again. Guess what? I hate to say it, there isn't.
You help yourself.
And sometimes the family, unfortunately, and it's just the truth of it, sometimes the family is just too close to help.
Yeah, so I said.
They just are like,
Hey, my family, or family,
Right.
understand. you
like
know?
sometimes they just gotta get out the way and like, or ask for help for themselves.
Ooh, better yet.
Like, and that's, I think why I love band, like, ask for help for yourself. To learn how to be a help to the addict, if you don't know. Because I mean,
It's a question for a parent.
I was gonna say,
I was gonna say, didn't you watch you guys get into help? Weren't you motivation? Don't you think you were motivation in your own way for your son? Because you weren't helping yourself.
well, he always appreciated that, and he's very proud that we're still in it. That we haven't walked away yet, and so is the group, because, pardon me? And why are you still in it now? What would you say that what you know about your program, why do you still learn listening to the parents that are coming in? And it's something I hadn't thought about when I was going through it, and then parents that are going through it. We have some stuff that work for us. I was not the best on able. And it also helps them to know that somebody's still here that went through it, and it wasn't like he relapsed once, he relapsed 3 times in the course of it. And it's drugs. He fell off the roof. That's what started it. And once he was, pain, and he never knew how to get off of it, and embarrassed, didn't want to talk to it, didn't want to say anything. And,
Because I think, I tell you, that since I've been involved in FAN, that's been the most remarkable. And I don't think there was another family that sat next to me at one of the meetings, and their son was there, and he was struggling hard. You could tell that he only had maybe days of it, if that, clean. And he was there, and his parents were all excited, and they loved the forum and stuff, and the poor kids were just sitting next to him. And I leaned over at one point and I said, what would happen if they kept coming and you didn't come anymore? And he said, what do you mean? I said, what happened if they got the help they enjoy, they come to this band, they find the support that they need, and you're not there? And he said, I hate it. Because he'd watch mom and dad growing, getting the support, being happy, taking care of themselves with a place that he thought, or that maybe we all think that we're supposed to do as a family. And basically it is, as Peggy just said, I gotta take care of me.
that's part of what we tell them too, like you said, you gotta save yourself before. So the parent has to save themselves, or they're just so overwrought, they can't help the kid that's having. Yeah, there's nothing worse than somebody going to the addict and the alcoholic. And with my case, it wasn't until my middle son he was about 25. And I it was shortly before my last drink. I had relapsed, and he got so angry at me. of the line drew in the sand right then. It took me 15 years to draw the line in the sand and realize that I have done the work of all of us for all these years. And you're angry at me because I relapsed again? When's the last time you went to a meeting, Quinn? And I knew it clear as day that I didn't have to answer to them anymore that weren't getting help for themselves. It took 15 years for me to understand that because they're my sons. I love them dearly. I want to fix it all. But you know what? I can only bear so much of doing all the recovery for the whole. And it took what it took. But I said that to him. I said, don't you dare get in my face because I'm drunk right now until you come home from an Al-Anon meeting and tell me what you learned. And he's never questioned it again. And we drank 2 more times after that.
Yeah, I won't hear.
I'm Greg, addict. Sometimes you just gotta run away. I mean, I was married to a woman who had a $95,000 a year cocaine habit. And without being dragged into her stuff, sometimes you can't help them. No matter what you do, you can't help them. No matter if you love them, you can't help them. Sometimes you got to run away and save yourself. You call.
Yeah, I think that's a great point too. I think that too is if I run away and show, if I run away and get sober, what's a better way to teach the addict than, or I run away and I take care of myself by going to FAN. I mean, I love these support groups. I think they're just incredible that the family's going out and being healthy, because let me tell you, the best thing to be able to teach another is by example of how we live our own lives. And, you know, if you got a family member that's telling you one thing, but contradicting in the way that they live and stuff like that, and they're not willing to get the help or whatever it is, it makes me kind of, oh, okay, I see it, you know, instead of having somebody say, you know what, love you, here's what I'm doing. I'm taking good care of myself over here. Maybe I've had to run, maybe I've had to geographically, or I've had to separate myself from that person because sometimes that is the safest place to go.
And sometimes when the addict gets clean, I experienced this, the addict gets clean on the addict side and the family realizes how sick they are. They don't have the addict to blame anymore, right? Like, and then they realize like, whoa. Like, I had my parents get divorced after 22 years when I first got clean, because I got clean and all they had was each other to sit there and yell, scream at, man.
Yeah, and you get
So
clean.
right,
You get well.
right.
And they see that in you and they go, then you can't argue with this that goes on here. This is good stuff that we learn and grow into.
That's one of the best skills for me too, was to learn too, because I came from what we all call a very dysfunctional family and so on and so forth. It wasn't my job to make them well. It was my job to make me well. And then the problem is that I had to take care of all the resentments and accept them for who they were, which was really hard because that was a good excuse for me to keep getting high, was because I was so angry at, you know, a dad that didn't want anything to do with me, a mom that was a hippie and was off running around doing whatever, when she was supposed to be raising a kid. And, you know, that whole generation of, we don't talk about what happens in this household, once we go out of here, these secrets stay within our household, and didn't understand that. And instead of learning to accept people and families, because we all have our, you know, and some families are worse than others, but you know what? All in all, when I stopped judging my mom and just accepted her, ain't crazy, love her, you know, she's who she is. I started getting help, you know, and again, it was another way of me being able to help not only myself, but others too, and be able to, you know, I heard Peg talk about her family and stuff. I had to accept that, you know, my sister's controlling, she's a little bit uptight, you know, but I love her to death because she's the only sister I got. So, you know, we go over there, I have the best time I can only take my mom in small doses, so I take her in small doses and love her when I can. And again, it's letting go not only in thinking that my family's gonna heal, and that's why I give all the families here so much credit for actually looking for a place to be able to take care of themselves. Because there's so many families of us that never get the help, as Kayla was saying. They'll stay just as sick, if not, and you know what, and it's an easy reason for, I don't know about you guys, but it was always a great reason for me to look at, you know, my dad didn't want me, so I must be nothing, you know, if your own dad don't want you, then what a great reason to go get high and stay high. Instead, I just accepted him, you know, it's his bad.
Well, I'm just gonna put in here and just, we are getting to the end of our time. We do want to end it right at 8:30. So I'd like to begin to, we'll shut down the formal panel. If you want to stay and ask questions, until 8:30, we can do that. Yes.
We have one more Zoom question.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So the question is, what do you think about a recovery wanting to use marijuana? It's illegal. Okay, there it is.
Oh, there it goes. It's a loaded, I mean, I don't even know where to start with this.
Individual.
Alcohol is
Oh,
legal.
okay.
I would not sponsor anyone who was saying that they're in Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous and still using either marijuana or some kind of anxiety medication or anything like that. I wouldn't sponsor them until they were off of it.
A difference too between like abstinence and harm reduction, and I think for some people, they're not ready for complete abstinence. Like where I would sponsor somebody, like I also work as a peer recovery coach, like I could coach somebody and like with the hope of maybe getting towards abstinence, but I feel like I'll give up on anybody either. I know like how long it took me to get sober and how many, you know, I mean, I tried different forms of like MAT and I'm glad that nobody gave up on me when I was doing that. I mean, I couldn't just smoke weed, I wanted to try it. It's not working.
I like the answer to. Wrong with, especially now that it's legal. Is it a use of, you know, on medical assisted treatment? Is it helpful? I think.
Prescribed though, or they.
Is it a mind altering substance?
See, and I mean, the problem is, and the struggle is too, is because let me tell you that my sobriety is like old school sobriety. But then my working in the field is today. And thanks to that beautiful lady, I went to a training that we had in Lansing. I don't know if you remember it. There was a guy up there that gave a lecture when they were trying to legalize marijuana. And he started talking about the fact that it had people with mental illness. And I was blown. He said it enhances every mental illness there is. If you have anxiety, it enhances it. If you have depression, it enhances it. He says the studies that are all pro marijuana and medical use and stuff for helping with it. He said, you'll see that the studies are like 5 people out of 10. He said, what happened to the studies out of 2,000? And what did we have out of 2,000? He said, and it's interesting because the people that want this medical marijuana to go are doing these small little studies and putting these statistics out. And it stopped me in my tracks because I was like, oh.
This is a huge topic. I mean, we could have a whole forum. In fact, we thought about having the whole forum on marijuana. It's a huge problem in the court. We deal with it in the mental health court every day. So it's an issue, but we approach it as an individual matter. Each person is looked at individually. We don't make a blanket decision that you are prohibited completely. And I think that's the right approach. I remember early on when I became a judge, a man came in who was caught with marijuana in possession, you know, which was a very common crime back then. And so I was doing the arraignment and he admitted to having the marijuana. And I said, you know, it's illegal. And he said, hey, lady, I was addicted to crack. I mean, and it's kind of the issue, really.
Remember that this thing is is bigger than we will ever know, and it is not wanting to let us go. We are all, what are your motives? What's my motive for smoking marijuana? You know, what's my motive for taking that pain medication? What's my motive for my own truth, my own personal life and where I want to go, what I want to do? How honest am I with myself? What do I need to do to get to my own truth? And that's what anybody else is
Right now,
somebody.
they do question those things,
Right.
we're active using something like that. It is, like she said, what you're willing to let go of next, because it wasn't just one thing with me. You know, it was just the lesser of the harsh, but eventually you'll get to that spirit and let go, absolutely. But it's a process, and I think that's what we gotta keep in mind. Recovery is a process.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The attempt alone to keep trying is so vital. You don't want to scare people away by saying no, no. Because I had a woman say one time, she just got her 20-year point. She said at a meeting, I see people come in and out of here all the time. If I could just tell them, go out and finish the job. You're not ready to get sober. We walked away from that meeting thinking, I'm just gonna go finish the job then and get about. So we all see that it may not be right, might be right. It's like, we gotta really give each other a break here. I don't want to miss an opportunity because somebody's thoughts are coming out of their mouth. I don't want to deny them that. I want them to not be able to say to me those things like my son. I don't want them to be afraid to share those deep, dark secrets.
Go ahead, and then I think we're gonna have to,
Okay,
well, he has a question, my husband, after you.
very three things. I'm an expert in pain medications. And I mean an absolute stone expert. And I think part of the problem is our medical profession doesn't know how to treat pain. And they aren't up to date. I took my doctor, who is head of one of the hospital's doctors, associations, and got him onto the Cleveland Clinic's pain medication system. It works. It works. And he began changing his patients over to that system. But if you don't have choices, I mean, it's either suffer hellish pain or figure out a way to get past it.
Right, and no, there's no question that it can be helpful for some things, there's no question. I mean, alcohol can be too, right? Alcohol is,
Help there as well.
What do you think you saw?
Cleveland Clinic pain medication course does not include any opioids. And it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good to know, thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, we are going to,
What about that handsome gentleman and the?
all right, Bill.
I was just gonna say legality doesn't have to talk at all.
Right.
Alcohol is legal. Marijuana is legal, it's not different, but my area is mental health issues. I did listen to a doctor who specialized in studying genetics and mental illness. And he produced this slide called Reefer Madness. If you have a particular predisposition, and you smoke marijuana, would you're susceptible to bipolar disorder. And so over the last couple of years, there's been a perceptible increase in bipolar disorder and schizophrenia here in this country. Is it related to marijuana? I don't know. But maybe that's a potential.
It hasn't been studied enough. I mean, and it's particularly the interactions with psychiatric medicines have not been studied. That was what the doctor had said that spoke at the at the MADCAP
Yeah.
conference. So because it's been illegal, has not been legal, and it's not legal at the federal level, it hasn't been studied like other drugs. So, there's that, and there's a lot of unknowns, but but we have to wrap it up. We only have the room till 8:30, so.
Did that answer the question at all?
Doesn't answer the question. But yes, I really appreciate your sharing your thoughts and speaking so honestly with everybody, and thank you to our panel. You were phenomenal, and thank you. You really need to get. Even Laura and Tim, thank you so much. You were wonderful.
Thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to come, seriously, you know, this is the kind of, one last, with the job thing, I just had this, because we were talking about different things that we could do to help others and stuff like that, if I can put out in the community too, the different opportunities to be able to involve or to put any kind of job things like the Capuchin have, like so many other of these organizations. Because I think that's the biggest thing is that and I hear there's people that own businesses that could hire people and stuff like that. If they only knew that getting that opportunity, that little window of opportunity to say, we believe in you, we'll give you the opportunity to let somebody in. If there's any businesses that are listening, hearing, or that we can get out, business owners that are willing, or if they're in the market for looking for people, please look into the treatment centers. Please reach out to the courts that have, you know, probations or parole things and say, I'm willing to take in if you have a referral. Because let me tell you, I just reached out to 2 parole agents that I'm now in another business back in corporate, and we're looking for, and we can't hire anybody. And I asked the 2 parole agents that I used to work for, and they thought it was the best. They're like, oh, this is awesome. And started sending referrals down. And let me tell you, in the job market right now too, it's not easy to hire people. And these are the kind of people that if you gave them that chance or that window.
Yeah, and we are actually, one of our forums coming up is going to be on employment after conviction. So we are going to explore that and maybe reach out to, you know, employers.
Yeah, anybody knows or anybody that's looking or anything, it's a great place. Because it is personal, and you'd be amazed because here's that chance again to give somebody hope. You know, to give them the inspiration that we believe in, you know. Not saying that you're gonna give them a company car or give them a keys. I just, sorry, I had to add that. That was, and if you talk to the guy that Rise, just again, it's one of it. If anybody's on the east side of Detroit, Rise Bakery, stop in and pick up some cupcakes, some of the best cakes and muffins, German chocolate cake, if you remember, and sandwiches, and it all is, it's giving back to the community that it's a Capuchin Soup Kitchen. Is who over. Oh, sorry.
See you at our June. June is coming up. It's hard to say.
Yeah. I think we expect you to be here every Monday from now on.
Yeah.
You. You're waiting.